So it is Transformer Tuesday today, and we have a lot to talk about here on the Transformer Slag podcast. One big reveal. Of course, JT Prime 17 bringing us a whole bunch of stock images of future Transformer product that are probably going to be revealed tomorrow, but we'll get into that in a moment. But today, on top of the stock images, of course, of a whole bunch of different product, being that of the Arachnid, the Alpha Trion, both of those from Transformers 1. Of course, we have many others too, but the big one to take away from it all is our very first look of the Transformers Studio Series 86 Leader Class Generation 1 Soundwave. This has been a long time coming, something that even Nate from Hasbro's marketing talked about at San Diego Comic-Con. How we're going to be getting more Studio Series 86 items, but they're going to be celebrating more 1985 and 1986 characters, even 1984 in a little sense. And while, the 1986 movie next year is going to get a huge 40th anniversary and everything, we're going to be seeing a lot of characters that, while it's under the Studio Series 86 branding, they will feature on stuff outside of what would be the 86 movie. And we start with the big man himself in that of Soundwave. So again, Leader Class price point, very similar to what we got before with Legacy United, a Voyager scaled figure featuring 3 cassettes. So it's the same general concept, but this Voyager scaled Soundwave we have here today is a brand new tooling from the ground up. Something completely different than what we got from that original Netflix Voyager or even that of the Siege mold before that. Evan and Mark from Hasbro's design team have said many times over the past couple of years that they wanted to revisit Soundwave because that old tooling that we had of Soundwave did not scale well with the blaster that they did. The blaster was under their era during Kingdom, and the Soundwave that came before it was shorter because it came from the John Warden era during Siege and Earthrise, and it just didn't match up properly for our displays and collections. So they always wanted to revisit Soundwave and do it proper and get something that'll work well with your blaster, and we have that here today. And again, this all comes to fruition finally, and he looks amazing. Has that Fluoro Deary Generation 1 animation model look to the extreme, the red eye visor, the screen accurate head sculpt that's not like the toy version, the nice deco hits in all the right places. Both the battery weapons still make the shoulder cannon and the blaster. We have improved articulation on the hands this time around. You could clearly see that it has articulated hands and even could do the push his own buttons finger, if you want to call it that, not just sculpted in there like the past releases. It carries over some concepts and design ideas from the past tape deck Soundwave modes that we've seen, like the front end buttons have that faux look to them of the tape deck mode that are different buttons from that of the robot mode due to some twists and faux button layouts. So you have like the tape deck mode has like the functional details on the buttons of like the rewind and everything. But when you look at the robot mode, those same buttons are now different because it's a different set of buttons that clearly match the Fluoro Deary animation model. Now they don't have those, accoutrements on them, for lack of better words. And it just looks great, in my opinion. And by also having different tape deck buttons that are not blocky like the previous ones, these other tape deck buttons are also, for lack of better words, articulated. So it leads to a greater range of motion for the hips and the posing and stuff like that. So it creates that kind of skirt design. It looks great, looks really good. Also another good upgrade from this time around. There's no more Siege or Earthrise 5mm, portholes all over the robot mode to kind of function with weaponizers or battle masters. This is something to just look like a great screen accurate figure and not have all those toyetic kind of holes all over it and elements. But it looks great. There is some pegs, though, on each of his arms, which I get a feeling, no doubt, is to function with Laserbeak or Buzzsaw to be attached to his arm to chill on. That's probably a given with that. But otherwise, it looks great. Also comes with his cassettes, and those cassettes will store in his chest. Looks like there's an opening door case button that is still on his shoulder trap region like he's always had for the past 40 years. Everything looks great here. The only thing that's weird, and it's just weird with the stock image here, and it's probably not going to represent the final product, But if you look at those early stock images, one of the plastic covers for the left side of the bottom left of the tape deck mode, that seems like the plastic is missing there, and you could see an exposed screw under it. You could clearly see in the robot mode that same area is fine and it's, covered up and everything. But that is a weird photo hiccup, and I wonder if they'll fix that for the final product, at least for the photography. Now let's talk about those tape cassettes. And again, we get 3 of them, just like with the United version. That's how they work it with the price pointing here. First up, we have a brand new tooling for Ravage, which is a big one. And this one's kind of a give or take in a lot of ways. The Siege and Netflix Earthrise Ravage were not really well received by the fans in the Jaguar/Panther mode. They felt that the tape deck mode was fine. It had a nice deco, had a nice shape to it, looked good. But they weren't too much of a fan of that Jaguar Panther mode. It looked kind of weird. This one, the Jaguar Panther mode, looks pretty good. It's not perfect, but it does the job. But then you look at the tape deck mode, or the tape mode rather, and it looks kind of rough in my opinion. Now I think this falls more into a matter of the price point that we have and the budget of what can be done within that price point. We saw that through something like Masterpiece Ravage more than 15 years ago, that it can be done. You just have to have the budget to be able to do that. You could have a very screen accurate Ravage that could also turn into a tape cassette, but you have to have the budget that could have all of those parts, pieces, engineering, the scaling, the deco, the tooling, and that's a Masterpiece budget. This is something where it's a Leader Class budget. You have a Voyager, it has to share the budget with a whole bunch of other stuff, and again, brand new tooling with that Voyager, that you don't really have that in this case here. Again, passable Jaguar, cat mode, whatever. Even if those hip missiles kind of sit like on a shelving on the back of his hind there. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And, maybe we'll just have it all in the other modes anyways, or store them in his chest. Now, as it partakes to the tooling and the look of the brand new Laserbeak and Buzzsaw, also brand new tooling. Now, those original Siege and Earthrise toolings that we had before were quite beloved by the fans. They did a fantastic job. I mean, especially considering we got a Cybertronian-headed Laserbeak for the first time proper through that. Those were pretty good to begin with. So how do you improve on that? How do you do something new? And we got, also through the Transformers Legacy United Leader Class Soundwave pack just recently with the cassettes, we finally got through that Laserbeak tooling. We got a Buzzsaw that got a treatment there. So fans were pretty happy. We got kind of already everything we needed. These ones are not that terrible, but they're not like exactly a big upgrade or a wow factor anyways when it's all said and done. And when you look at the tape modes on top of that, there's a lot of empty spaces and emptiness just in general with how it's designed. And again, I really think it's just the modern budget of what we're dealing with today. And when you look at that original United Soundwave, all of that tooling came from the John Warden era, so they didn't really have to put a lot of budget into it. Same thing, the Soundwave itself was just a redeco. They were able to do a nice little Leader Class pack back then, and it was affordable to put it together because it was a bunch of tooling that was literally, some of it going as deep as like 5 years old. So this time around, there's a lot of new tooling, and I think that with the limited budget led to a lot of the little empty spaces that we have here. I just kind of hope that this new Soundwave has a chest capacity that could fit the old cassettes we've had up to this point, and then we can mix and match and pick what we want from that. So let's hope it all works out at the end of the day. Now let's talk about pricing here for a moment. So this is a Leader Class 4-pack, much in line again with what that Leader Class Legacy United Soundwave was before the Soundwave with 3 cassettes. But this is a Leader Class price point at $59.99 of what we heard was going to be the new price increases going into 2026. So this will be a $60 item. It will be more expensive than what we're used to getting Leader Classes for in the past. So this is another thing to consider when looking at this guy if you do want to pick him up. I do think the robot mode is a big step up in terms of what we got before. It looks fantastic. I mean, it's not going to match that of the Masterpiece Soundwave, but in terms of the retail items that we've had up to this point in Voyager class, I think he looks great, and it's going to be something that's going to look fantastic next to our new blaster mold that we've had since Kingdom, Legacy, and the Studio Series 86 version. And I think that the cassettes that we got with this set are kind of the sacrifice that we have to deal with, that by being a leader class price point, they had the budget to make a great Soundwave. And then with the leftover budget that was there, they kind of just put into what they could for 3 little cassettes. Maybe down the line, we'll get like a dramatic capture series version of this tooling, and they'll include a mix and match of previous cassettes to make a perfect version. Who knows? Who knows? We'll see what happens with that. You could do a different shade of, dark blue on this Soundwave and get away with something. And speaking of which, as for Soundwave's other iconic tape members, because we only got 3 here, we already got Rumble and Frenzy through Studio Series 86. Now, granted, those were through the defunct now Core Class price point, and we did get Ratbat recently through the Studio Series 86 Perceptor 3-pack with the Ramhorn Perceptor and the Ratbat. Or if you want to track down the Siege Battlemaster price point 2-pack with Ratback, but that's also a defunct price point that doesn't exist anymore. And the reason why I bring up these defunct price points is because stuff like the Core Class and the Battlemaster price point, because they don't exist anymore, where could Hasbro say potentially take what we've gotten before and maybe re-release them again so that people could get their hands on, say, Rumble, Frenzy, or Ratbat? I mean, maybe they could do a 3-pack, call it a deluxe class price point, re-release these molds that we already got in here with the Core Class and that of the Perceptor. Maybe do it in 2 years from now or something, put some distance between it, and give fans a second chance to pick up the complete run of all the Soundwave tape cassette dudes. That's what I think anyways. It's a cool reveal. I dig it. It's a great reveal for the Transformer Tuesday. I think the Soundwave's fantastic. The tape cassettes are a lot less to be desired, but it is what it is. And that's it more or less for Transformer Tuesday, which I feel is going to be a lot of our reveals for tomorrow for the Transformer Day, Wednesday, September 17, 2025, tomorrow. So be sure to tune in for that on the Transformer Slag podcast, and we'll keep you updated on what's happening in our Transformer brand because of the big day tomorrow on Wednesday. And thanks again for listening to the Transformer Slag podcast and keeping you educated, entertained, and informed on everything going on in our beautiful robot hobby. And I'll talk to you in the near future.